Welcome to the Gentle Ledger. Today is Tuesday, February 17th, 2026. The market carried the quiet energy of a first day back, everyone present, but nobody eager to declare certainty. Now let's turn softly to the U.S. indexes, where the closing numbers appeared calm even as the day wandered. The Dow Jones Industrial Average finished at 49,533.19, up 0.07%. The S&P 500 closed at 6,843.22, higher by 0.10%. The Nasdaq Composite ended at 22,578.38, up 0.14%, and the Russell 2000 edged slightly lower to 2,646.59, down less than 0.1%. It was a session defined by hesitation rather than direction, a late recovery that suggested investors were willing to hold positions but not yet expand them. Gently moving into the corporate highlights, the real story unfolded stock by stock. Among large technology names, reactions were mixed. Apple rose 3.2%, while Nvidia and Amazon each added about 1%, stabilizing after recent volatility, but others lagged. Microsoft fell more than 1%. Tesla slipped more than 1%, and Alphabet declined 1.2%, a reminder that enthusiasm around AI now shares space with questions about cost and competition. Software names showed sharper pressure. Intuit dropped more than 5%, and Cadence Design Systems fell over 5%. Reflecting investor concern about how automation may reshape traditional enterprise tools. Consumer sentiment surfaced clearly in packaged foods. General Mills sank 7% after lowering its outlook, and the effect spread. Campbell's, Mondelez, and Kraft Heinz each fell more than 4%, pointing to shoppers becoming more selective. Not all consumer news was soft. Norwegian Cruise Line jumped 12.1% after activist investor involvement, one of the day's brighter moves. Corporate actions also shaped trading. Massimo surged 34.2% after agreeing to be acquired by Danaher, while Danaher slipped 2.9% on the purchase. Fiserv gained 6.9% following reports of an activist stake. In media, Paramount Skydance rose 4.9%, Warner Bros. Discovery gained 2.7%, and Netflix edged up 0.2% as deal discussions continued. Meanwhile, Genuine Parts fell 14.6% after weak results and restructuring plans, a quieter but decisive repricing. Overseas in Asia and Europe, the mood carried across gently, shaped by thinner holiday trading in parts of the region and a cautious read-through from U.S. volatility. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 slipped 0.4%, weighed down in part by SoftBank Group, which fell 5.1% and pulled on the broader market's tech mood. In Europe, stocks generally leaned higher, a quieter kind of strength, less about excitement, more about steadiness. While global investors waited for the U.S. week to provide a clearer signal. In commodities and bonds, the story shifted quietly, and this time the movement felt like it was happening beneath the floorboards. The 10-year Treasury yield edged up to around 4.05% to 4.07%, barely changing. but enough to remind markets that rates are still the air they breathe. Precious metals continued their rough stretch. Gold fell 3% to about $4,895 an ounce, and silver dropped nearly 6% to around $73.50, a continuation of the bumpy ride that has made even safe assets feel surprisingly restless lately. In energy, WTI crude dipped 0.9% to about $62.35 a barrel, adding to the day's sense that demand narratives are being treated with caution. Turning now to the newer corners of finance, in crypto land, the tone was less euphoric than it was watchful. Bitcoin traded around $67,700 in the hour after the equity close, lower than its weekend high above $70,000. It didn't feel like a breakdown, more like a market that still reacts to the same forces as everything else: liquidity expectations, risk appetite, and the emotional weather of rates. As the day settles into evening, let's rest in the reflective summary and outlook. Today's close looked quiet, but the day itself was full of small tremors: consumer unease, software anxiety, and AI stories that are now being priced not as inspiration but as disruption. And still, the market managed to end slightly higher, less a celebration, more a reminder that even on uncertain days, investors keep searching for footing. Tonight, let that careful search soften into rest. Good night.